Welcome to the Cherry Picker, the horror movie podcast where we like to kill people, but not really. I'm your host, Zach Cherry, and joining me is,
Tim McKay from Tim McKay Beauty.
and today we are talking about Demon Knight, aka Tales from the Crypt presents Demon Knight, released January 13th, 1995. This is
Woo!
an oldie, but a goodie. And
Yeah.
Tim, have you ever seen this movie before, or was this your first
No, so it's funny
foray?
because I have actually wanted to watch this for a while. I was a huge fan of Bordello of Blood when I was a kid.
Mm.
I always loved vampires. I remember watching that with my dad when I was a kid, and like that was one of those movies that would come on. I feel like Demon Knight, it maybe didn't come on TV as often, but I know Bordello of Blood came on like a lot when I was a kid. So,
Okay.
no, but I've always wanted to watch it, and I'm really glad I did. I'm really glad that we got to watch it for this. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was a
Well,
fun one.
it is a fun one, and it's funny because I think initially we were talking about covering Sinners, and I imagine we will at some point. But I just like because I'd seen Sinners, and I'm like I have notes about it. I think
Hmm.
that it's a very well made movie, but I just like the prospect of watching it again, in just like the midst of everything. And I was just like a lot of people like say like, well, Sinners is just from dusk till dawn, and I mean like I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of
Mm-mm.
similarities, but I mean what if I think of this as like a subgenre of just sort of like vampires or demons or something, and like people being like held up in a like an Alamo or a building or something while like the evil is outside trying to get in.
Mm.
You know, even like movies like Sinners and From Dusk Till Dawn, or even like Prince of Darkness, John Carpenter's, and Demon Knight. Like that's sort of like a subgenre in and of itself. So I was just thinking like, which movie of this ilk do I think, like do I really like? And I think we can get
Mm.
some good conversation out of. And I don't know, Demon Knight came to mind. And I watched Demon Knight like last year after Sinners came out because it evoked memories of it. I was thinking like, oh, I really want to watch Demon Knight, and I did, and I enjoyed it, and I watched it last night. You know, obviously
Hmm.
for this, and still very much enjoyed it. The first time I'd ever seen this movie, I think was like right when it came out. It would have been 95 or 96. And I remember I was with my stepbrother, and he was with his friend. We were like going out to like a friend of our families like had this cottage out in
Hmm.
Ontario for where we live. So we would go there some weekends. So I went with my stepbrother. He was with a friend, and his friend was like part of that like Big Brother program or whatever it
Oh
is, where
yeah.
they like look after kids. So there was like another kid there who's like my age. So it was like it's like, oh, this is fun. Where like the adults are gone.
Hmm.
It's just like stay up late, do whatever.
Break the
And
rules.
yeah, and I guess like my stepbrother's friend, because they were older, had like a VHS of Demon Knight and put it on, and we just all started watching it. I was just like, whoa, what's this? And this is like, I would have been like 10 or 11 at the time. So I wasn't like as acclimated to horror. I think the only horror movie that I had seen at that point was Witchboard 2, which is another
Hmm.
fabulous movie, by the way. But I remember we were watching it, and I was just like, oh, this is really interesting. Like it looks cool. And then the moment comes where he like turns around and punches a hole through the guy's head.
Oh my
And
God,
it's
yeah.
just like, oh my God, like and I think there was a moment where like my stepbrother and a friend were like, "Oh, should we turn this off?" And we're just like, "Fuck no, we're gonna keep going."
Keep going. Yeah,
Yeah.
same with Bordello of Blood. Like there was very good special effects, practical effects in both movies. And
Hmm.
I was really glad to see it. I had a feeling it would be in this one too. Because I even love like you don't see a lot of movies with just demons in them, I feel. Like just
Yeah.
like this movie had like it was cool that they came up with the concept of the demon. And I know that the script went through so many different variations, iterations, and everything. And even just
Yeah.
it was so expensive to make a bunch of demons. So
Yeah.
but I love how they end up doing it. Like just finding a lot of skinny actors, tall,
Mm.
skinny actors, and just using prosthetics on them instead of doing full body suits or anything like that. And
Yeah.
it was great. It was cool to just see demons because you don't see those often.
No, yeah, and apparently so the eyes, the glowy eyes, like how they did that was
Hmm.
using like glow sticks, like the liquid that's inside of it. So
Really?
apparently production just like wrangled up like thousands and thousands of glow sticks and like broke them open and like poured all of this stuff like into a thing so they would have them for the eyes and any of like the blood and stuff like whenever they needed it. So just like there's a lot of like there's obviously CGI in here and like dated like mid 90s
Yeah.
CGI, but so much practical effects as well. That just like
Lots
really
of it.
adds to yeah, like I
The
don't know, like
transformations. It was
mhm.
fun. It
No,
was wild.
it's a fun movie and it's funny that you mentioned the budget. I think it was 12 million.
Mm.
Um, and it went on to make like 21 million, but obviously like this is back in the 90s. There's always like the back end like VHS
Mm.
rentals and all those that are added to the overall gross. Um, Bordello of Blood, which I believe was came out a year later, had a much more
Yeah.
a modest budget
A modest bonus.
of like I think 2.5 million, and then that went on to make like 6 million. So I don't know if it just wasn't um, marketed as much or what the situation was there. But I think I've only seen Bordello of Blood once. I have like the old DVD set that has both of them on the
Hmm.
same disc. So that's how I watched it. Like I want to upgrade this. I don't know if it's available on 4K, but I know the it is on Blu-ray at the very least.
My very first actual experience with the Crypt Keeper was in the movie Casper when he like is in the mirror when the dad like is washing his face when they first move in and like the ghost kind of
Okay.
goes into him and he like do you remember that part in Casper? Like he's like his face keeps
No.
changing in the mirror and then the very last one that he sees is the Crypt Keeper. And so as a kid watching Casper, I
Yeah.
was horrified. I had no idea who the Crypt Keeper was, but and it looked so disgusting.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, so that was my very first now that I think about it. That was my first.
I mean, I'm not like I don't know very much about like Tales from the Crypt. Like I've seen like
Yeah.
shows and there's like so many different series. Wasn't there like a cartoon series at one point as well? Um, but this was like it was sort of like I guess a revival that they were doing in the 90s because wasn't it it was like originally from years before or
Yeah,
decades
so it was
before.
written like written like well I thought it was like 5 to 6 years before as
Yeah.
just like a spec script like it's just a
Well,
general
this
spec
one,
script.
yeah. But
Yeah, this
Tales from
one.
the Crypt as an IP
Oh,
existed
oh
long
yes.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, so that I forgot what it said the show was like the 80s, right? I think it
Okay.
started.
Okay.
Then
Yeah, that makes more
there
sense.
was comic books and stuff too.
Yeah, which
Um
do play into the movie as well.
yeah. And like
Yeah.
and that scene too, and we can talk about it later, but like when that scene happened, I was like no one is safe. Like it's like a Terrifier
No.
movie.
It's well,
Uh
it's almost like it's kind of like the Evil Dead in a way, where it's like the
mm,
demon is it's almost like its ability to kind of possess people is more to do with their willpower. And
yes.
the people who have like the strongest willpower are the ones who end up surviving or are able to at least like defeat the evil or have a better shot at defeating the evil. So I
It's
wonder
kind of
like
like
if
cult. Oh, I'm sorry.
cult.
I was gonna say it's kind of like cult members. Like you get preyed
Hmm.
on the weak get preyed on and like join us, join our
Yeah.
cult.
I
Whatever you're
wonder
trying
like
to say.
how like in this movie in particular like how any one of us would do. Like would I be seduced into becoming like overcome by the demon through whatever they offered me.
By Billy Zane, I might.
Yeah.
I
By
mean, if
Billy
he talked to me
Zane.
the way, if he was like, "Hey Tim, you look pretty," I mean, beautiful, I might be like, "Really?"
Oh, Billy Zane.
Um,
Um,
oh my God, speaking of Billy Zane, I had no idea. Like this whole movie was filled with actors I had no idea were in this movie, and I knew every single actor in this movie. Like I recognized them from something.
okay, so
Um,
we've got Billy Zane, who I think like most famous like his most famous role was Titanic
which he
that came
got
out to
because of this
this
movie.
movie. Yeah,
Isn't that
the
wild?
James Cameron saw Demon Knight and was like, him, that guy can like straddle the line between like being evil and smooth and just like the right person to cast as Cal.
Charismatic.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had no
Um,
idea Cal wore a wig. I didn't know that that was a
yeah.
wig
Well, I
because he's
think that
bald.
like yeah, Billy Zane was like losing his hair from like the in the 80s. And there was something like he would like come onto like film sets with like a briefcase full of toupees
Yeah.
and be like, I
Which
can wear
one?
this one, I can wear this one or whatever. And then I guess for this movie, they're like, actually, like I think we like it better if you were to just be like clean shaven.
Hmm.
So they ended up doing that. I wonder if like on like Dead Calm, the one with Nicole Kidman
I've
and
never. Is that a
Sam Neill.
thriller?
It's a thriller. I think it's like 89, 1989.
Okay. Because I just
Um,
rewatched Moulin Rouge and I'm like, oh my God, no, I loved it and I want to watch
uh,
everything Nicole
yeah,
Kidman's
no,
in.
I would be interested in revisiting Dead Calm.
Mm.
But yeah, he plays a villainous character in that one as well. But no, I think maybe that might have been his. I'm just to chart the hair of Billy Zane throughout his career. But
Mm.
yeah, he would bring in like different hair pieces, and they'd be like, yeah, we want that one. So I wonder if like on Titanic he did the same thing, or
Well, I
James
had no
Cameron.
idea.
Yeah.
I almost didn't believe it, like when he said that. So like I was just like, wait, that was a really good wig then,
Hmm.
that they gave him
Yeah.
because he was
Well,
so
he
dapper.
starts out wearing this like cowboy hat. Like he's like this bounty hunter that
Yeah,
comes
this
in, and then
drifter,
yeah. And then also, so we've got Jada Pinkett who plays
hmm
Geraldine. Uh,
Geraldine, which is
apparently, no, go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say Geraldine, poor thing, was like the handyman slash the bellhop slash the cook. Like they had her doing everything in this damn place. No wonder why she was mad.
Yeah, I like to like headcanon that Geraldine is actually Maureen in Scream 2, and that like after she escaped the horrors of Demon Knight, she ended up in Windsor College and dated
Oh,
Omar Epps, and then ended up getting stabbed to death in the movie theater. But no, she is no, she's a fun character, and apparently the director had to fight to like get her because I think the studio wanted Cameron Diaz in the
no
role.
way.
And yeah, and this is like Cameron Diaz would like after the success of like The Mask. So this would have been like a year later.
Mm, okay.
So yeah, she's kind of like well, she's on like a work release program. She was in prison, so she's just kind of like doing all the grunt work around the hotel, and it is just her. The only people on staff here are her and then Irene,
Irene, I love
played by
Irene.
CCH Pounder, uh, who yeah, I think she might be my favorite person in this movie.
She was hilarious,
Yeah,
and I knew
she's
her from Orphan.
she is an orphan. She's
Yes.
she's the nun who little
Mm-hmm.
Esther ends up like driving off the road and then killing with a hammer, if I recall.
Brutal.
I
Yes.
CCH Pounder is in everything. Like that's and especially at this time, like I think that when there was this 95 like Face Off came out, she was in that. And I always found like just the name, I don't even know what CCH stands for. I'm sure you can
Mm-hmm.
find out very easily. Where's our AI bot, Amethyst? Like the CCH. Well, he's also CCH Pounder is in Psycho 4 as well. Amethyst is letting us know. But I, I I remember she was on The Shield, and I always think of that bit in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they're doing impersonations, and they're like, "You can't impersonate a black person as a white person," and he's like, "Sure, I can. I can do CCH Pounder," and he's like, "God damn it, Dutch! What other errands have you got us running for the DA?" So yeah,
That
she's in
actually does sound
everything.
like her.
Yeah, yeah,
That's so
she's
funny.
great, and apparently she was wearing like padding under her like smock or her gown or whatever because she
Yeah.
wasn't like as big in real life. So just like it made me think of Betsy Palmer in Friday the 13th, just like padding her sweater underneath to make her seem like huskier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
Um,
yeah, she was hilarious. And they said that actually helped when they had to hide her real arm, like later on in the movie when her
yes.
arm is taken off.
Oh my
And
God, that's so gross.
which is
Yeah.
hilarious because like it's so gross, but then like the rest of the movie, she's just like, let's go. Like she's just walking around with like this like arm missing, and then at one
Yeah.
point she raises the arm. Remember that? And she's like, "This is me giving you the middle finger," and it's just like her
Yeah.
like nub. Oh my
Just
God,
the nub, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah, yeah. Amethyst Frost, beep, beep, boop. Carol Christine Hilaria Pounder.
Oh,
Yeah. I think like what
Oh,
kind of name Hilaria is, because isn't that like Alec Baldwin's wife?
yes.
Hilaria.
Hilaria.
Hilaria. Oh,
Hmm.
that's so Hilaria. I'm just LOLing over
Oh,
here with how
Hilaria.
Hilaria that is. Vodka's kicking in. Who else do we have in the movie?
We have Brenda Bache, which she was in a lot of these kind of like 90s gritty, low
Mm.
budget, kind of schlocky horror movies. But she was also in Charmed. I recognized her right away. She was like a demon or a witch or something in Charmed.
Oh.
Um, we had
Piper.
and we had Thomas Hayden Church, which I know very well
Hmm.
from George of the Jungle growing up.
Oh,
He
was he
was
in
like,
that?
yes, he was like
Yeah.
well, actually, now that I say that out loud, I'm like, was he? George of the Jungle. Yes, he was like the bad guy in that, and he's such a funny actor. Yes,
Yeah.
thank God.
He,
That's him.
I think he was also in Spider-Man 3 playing
Oh yeah,
Sandman
Sandman.
and Sideways, the one with Paul Giamatti. Never seen it, but I think
Never
like the
saw it.
two of
Yeah.
them are like buddies, and it's like a whole thing where they go to like the wine country and just fuck around. Um,
And then there was the guy Dick Miller who played Uncle Willie, which
Dick Miller.
I know I've seen him in other things, but like I was watching some interviews and they were talking about him like he was like this like legend. So I was like he was probably in a
Mm.
lot of older movies. Um,
That character was kind of reminding me of in Halloween 3, the homeless guy who kind of like accosts Tom Atkins when he like after he leaves the liquor store and he's like, "Hey, can I have some of that?" And they're just like in this back alley just sharing a bottle. Uh,
I can't see his
only
face at the moment, but
yeah.
yeah, I 100% believe you.
It only reminded me of that because of like the situation and the setting. But then they end up going to this like old abandoned church, which I
The
guess was
mission.
like the mission. This whole thing, this was all a set that was built in an abandoned hangar.
Yes,
So like everything, like all the like outdoor environments, like all like I mean, it looks fake in a
like
in
a
like
set.
it's like nine in like 1995 effects kind of way, but it's still like it's just like oozing with atmosphere and mood, and I love that. Like it's just like it adds to like the fun and the camp value of everything, and it's just like compared to like what we see nowadays, where
Hmm.
everything just is so like underlit and like just
Flat.
washed out and gloomy and flat. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
give me this. I want to see this kind of environment.
This movie felt like it had an artistic team, like it had a big like people like prop team that cared. It just felt like it almost felt like a haunted house. Like it felt like a spooky
Yeah.
haunted house. And I love a hotel setting.
Hmm.
So I think that was so much fun for this. But yeah, it felt like every department really gave 100% in making it have a spooky, haunted, like very Tales of the Crypt vibe.
Yeah. I'm gonna real quick because we've just been gushing about this. Just do the regular housekeeping. So,
Yes.
if you have been watching slash listening to the Cherry Picker for a while, or if you're brand new and you want to give back a little and support the podcast and keep our wheels greased, is that a thing that people say?
Uh,
Keep our
yeah.
wheels greased. If you
Yeah,
want
it
to
is.
get some
Grease the wheels.
grease all over our wheels, head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/Zach Cherry. And if you are supporting us from the Freddy Krueger tier or higher, some fun things that you'll get to do is join us in these live stream recordings. As you can see, the chat is happening live. Everyone gets to participate a little bit. And on top of that, you also get to nominate and vote for the episode or theme that we cover at the end of each month. So that will be next week. And we've already run that poll, and the results are in. So we have, with the majority of the votes, uh, F, marry or kill. I mean, I've already said the F word in this episode. I don't want to get us
Woo!
demonetized though. F, marry or kill Scream 7 edition.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
great.
back to covering Scream very quickly. Well, I guess there's still more to
There we
talk
go.
about, but I'm trying to. I mean, we'll have to figure out the mechanics of that because I assumed that it would be the whole franchise, but just including characters from 7. Because
Mm.
otherwise, like you do it with like however many characters, that would be a very short episode. So
Yes.
so yeah, I just imagine that we'll do it a certain way. We'll have a twist on it, so it won't be similar to the last time we did it. But this is what everyone voted for. Well, not everybody, but the majority. And it's what the people want. And if you would like to be part of the vote as well and influence the decision as to what we watch, then head over to the Patreon and you can be a part of that as well. Very much appreciate it. Really goes a long way in keeping the engine running. And I do want to shout out and thank some specific people. So to the Michael Myers here, thank you very much to Kyle Beard, Sam Levy, Ellie Hamouche, Shane Ellingham, Tim McKay,
Hey.
Horslet 95, Austin Hall, Final Girl Gemma, Billy's mother, Cara Day, Michael Boswell, Def Con, Michelle Hughes, and then thank you very much to the Ghost Faces, Eric Champney, Daniel Saturn, Stephanie Starbright, Baby Ghoul, Garrison Nichols, Craig Lynn, Josh Burrow, Brian James, and very new to this, thank you very much to Eric Serrano. Appreciate
Woo!
you all. Do you have a premise that you would like to read off for us,
I do. I
Tim
do.
McKay?
I do. And I
Yeah.
really quick to mention about your Patreon really quick. I really loved your Scream 7 review. That's up early on your Patreon right now.
Oh,
So, your Patreon members get to see it before YouTube, and I was enjoying that earlier today, and it was really, really awesome. So, great job.
thank you very much. I think at this when this is posted tomorrow, if you're Tuesday is going to be when this episode comes out, but I think I'll have that already up. But it's
Oh,
true.
it is
It
true.
was available to watch for a full day and a half before.
Yeah,
So,
and very exciting, and I loved how long the video was because I loved that I just like had it on and I could like
yeah.
do stuff and like listen to you, and you had so many good points on. That's what I was trying to say before, without saying too much before. I was trying to get to the point of like you had so many good ideas in there about Scream 7 and what could have made it better. So
Yeah.
yeah, so great
Well,
job.
it's 80 minutes if people want to listen to. I remember when I did the one for Scream 6, there were people who are like, I hate everything this guy is saying, and he went on for over an hour. Like, it's the thing.
Well, then those are the wrong people watching
You know
because I
what?
agree.
If you want to hate watch, I'm fine with that too. As long as you're giving the
Yeah,
views, you
yeah,
know. Yeah, you're
but
making you're greasing the wheels.
you're greasing those goddamn wheels.
Yeah.
But for this movie, Demon Knight,
Damon Knight.
it's about a drifter carrying a mysterious key who takes refuge in a rundown boarding house, or I guess that's what this description says, but old hotel
Mhm.
slash church, where a group of strangers soon find themselves trapped in a hunted by a charismatic demon determined to claim the key and their souls, leading to a brutal supernatural standoff in Demon Knight.
And Demon Knight. I always like when I first saw the movie, I thought Demon Knight meant like like the night of the demons.
I
But
saw a knight like a
yeah.
silver clad knight on a horse, but that was like a demon.
Well, it was just one of those things where I'm just like, oh, it's like we would always talk about like Demon Knight, and then like I'd look at the cover and be like, oh, Demon Knight, which I guess is
Yes.
the the William Sadler character. And
Will
then
oh
like
wait, his name William Breaker, who we forgot to mention earlier.
yeah.
Um,
Wait,
he
what's the
was
actor's name?
William Breaker, I think.
No,
Unless
I think
I'm
that's the character. Here
wait,
we
is
are
it?
not prepared.
No,
No,
his name is Frank. His name's Frank.
William Sadler is the actor. Breaker, Brayker is the
Oh,
character.
that's
So
why.
he is the Demon Knight.
William
Billy Zane
Sadler.
is the collector. And Geraldine, Jada Pinkett Smith Geraldine is she inherits the night. She is knighted as the new
Yes.
Demon Knight. Yeah.
So it kind of gave like the Chosen One, the Sunnydale like Slayer vibe.
Oh yeah.
Like there can only be one at a time, well
Yeah.
until season seven. But
Yeah.
like there's one at a time, and when when one dies, a new
Yeah.
one rises. So I was like, okay, a little like Slayer action going on here.
Yeah. And they just like
Um
keep filling up this key vial with
with
blood.
blood that
Yeah.
lasts forever. So yeah,
Yeah.
basically when you get this key, that the demon is that the collector is looking for,
Hmm.
because there were seven of them made, and somehow over like millions and millions of years, all these demons collected the six other keys, but there's one key that's lost out there on Earth, and so now this collector is coming to look for it. Very handsome Billy Zane. And when this movie started, it's funny that you actually brought up Strange Darling because this movie kind of gave me Strange Darling vibes when it started. Like
Oh, well,
you
I was
didn't
talking about
know.
it before the podcast started.
Oh yeah, so it was before the
Yeah.
podcast, but we were talking about Strange Darling because I didn't know who was the good guy and who was the bad guy when it started. I just knew that one was
Yeah.
being chased, and that's kind of how Strange Darling opens.
Mm.
Um, so that reminded me of that a lot. And yeah, um,
Yeah. Well,
Frank,
Frank.
right? That's his
Frank.
name. Yeah.
Uh, who? Frank? Or is it like Frank Breaker? Is that? Well, I don't. I just remember Breaker, and then he gives like the fake name as
Smith.
Smith.
Yes.
But I did want to read some comments in the chat. Eric is saying
Yeah.
that Dick Miller had a supporting role in The Exorcist. I'm trying to imagine who it was that he played in that. This is a fun fact from Grant. That was originally in the movie was originally intended to be directed by Tom Holland.
Hmm.
Not that Tom Holland. Tom Holland, the
Uh-huh.
director of Fright Night and Child's Play,
Hmm.
who ended up doing Fatal Beauty instead. And then after that, Mary Lambert was considered to direct. And then, she did Pet Cemetery 2. Or before
Mm.
Pet Cemetery 2 bombed, and then I guess they're like, nope, don't want her. But yeah,
Mary
just
Lambert. I
some
think
some
did she
fun
do
facts.
Mary Lambert? Did she do Urban Legend 3? Let me see.
You know what? I never saw
Director.
Urban Legend 3.
Oh, yeah, she did. Oh my God, I remember because
Yeah,
I loved that movie when it came out because it was so schlocky.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it had some fun deaths in it,
I'll
but
have to I'll
it's
have
not a
to
good
see
movie.
it
It's not a
at
good
some
movie
point.
by any means.
Is
Um,
it an entertaining movie? Is it
yeah,
interesting?
I find it interesting, but well, my
Yeah.
memory from 20 years ago finds it entertaining.
Oh.
So I think so. And there's one death
Oh.
in particular that like when I had a MySpace, I was so into horror movies that I had like stills, like screenshots of this like one particular death. I don't want to spoil anything. Yes, I shan't.
Don't spoil the urban legend free.
I shan't.
Um, yeah, so I can't remember I'll have to look up the runtime for this movie, but this is a very briskly paced film.
Yes, it was.
There are no lulls, there's no downtime. I feel like it just sort of like it starts and it's just like you're out the gate running. And even like once shit hits the fan, it's just like, oh, we're in this. Like it doesn't stop for anything at any point. And something that I loved about it is that like even like right on like very early, once we start getting introduced to all of like the supporting characters that are I guess like live in this boarding house.
Yeah.
We don't really spend too much time kind of like they introduce them all in a way in just sort of like in passing, but you immediately get a sense of like everyone's identity, everyone's personality, and it's just done so efficiently. And that's something I actually noticed when I watched it last year because this is like after having seen Sinners, where it's like that movie takes an hour to establish everyone, and then like here's
Mm.
like Demon Knight, and it's like boom in like 3 minutes, like that is how you do it. And I just like I
Yeah.
love when movies can be this efficient because it just feels like it's so respectful of its audience and the time and like just keeping you um involved in the universe of like what is happening. There's like you don't start to like feel the lulls or get distracted at any point.
Yeah, I found the way that they introduced different characters was very interesting. Like the way that they introduced Brenda Bach's character, she was the one that's like the residential prostitute of
Cordelia.
Cordelia. Oh my God, there
Yeah.
we go. Another Buffy reference that I wrote down
Yeah.
because it's so
Before
true.
Buffy, yeah.
Before Buffy, there was another which I've never heard that name before, but very cool.
Mhm.
So her character is like the residential prostitute, sex worker of the
Yeah.
film. And the way you find out is very interesting because she asks Geraldine to wash her sheets. And I was like, come on, this like poor girl. I mean, she's already doing enough. Like why would she have to wash your sheets? I didn't get it's because she works there and like that's her job. And like so she's telling Geraldine to like wash her sheets because like she's like the residential sex worker. So like that's part of
Hmm.
her. So she's like, I need clean sheets if I'm gonna do my
Yeah.
job.
Oh,
And I was
so
like, oh
she
my
is
God.
she like on staff at the
I
hotel?
do think so because it seems like
Yeah.
she lives there, and it seems like she like that's like her job is like because
Yeah.
they were even throwing around little jokes. So I didn't pick up on it until a little ways in that I was like, oh, she's like a sex worker because like I didn't get it. She said it about Willie or no Wally, the um the guy who played Roger Rabbit actually, who I think Amethyst may have mentioned in the chat or Adrian. Um,
Hmm.
and like she even says like, "Oh, maybe I should give him a freebie." And I was like, "Wait, is she talking about sex?" I was like, "Oh my God, she's a okay." Now I get it.
Yeah. I mean, when I first saw this when I was 10 years old, I figured it out at that point. So, you know,
Okay, well there you go.
just say I guess I was corrupted as a Ute. But yeah, no, well, everything like with him, like, and Wally's like got fired from the post office, and you just sort of see that he's, this kid, like kind of like spineless character who like can't stand up for himself. And uh Irene is just like she's just like that no nonsense, like exactly like the way that like Dennis describes her, and or, in It's Always Sunny. It's just like the no nonsense black lady from The Shield, and it's just like she does that perfectly, and she's just like, if you know
Mm-hmm.
what's good for you, you'll go crawling back on your hands and knees and beg for that job back. I mean, she's just like, I can't be bothered about anything. It's just like, we don't rent rooms for more than one night or like for short term. And he just like pulls out this wad of cash, and she's like, like,
Yeah, she's like
that's fine.
and people I don't know. She's like, I don't rent out rooms to people I
Yeah.
don't know. And she's like, well, I'll make an exception.
And then the long green shows up, and she, changes her mind real quick. Um,
But
but I
I even
love
like
that, like, no, go
oh
ahead.
no, you go on. No, you go on.
No, I was gonna say I love that, just like you're talking about like Geraldine just doing like 1,001 errands, and then it's
Yeah.
just like take the bags up, and like and we get this like this long shot of just sort of like going up the stairs, and we're like getting a feel for this set and just like establishing the geography of it. And I love like all the bits with Geraldine, and she's just like kind of like, sarcastic, like that's her thing. And just like the concierge will bring your bags up shortly. Like just like, here
Yeah.
you go. Like, I hate this fucking place and everyone in it, but like I gotta be here. And I thought that something that actually reminded me of you is that
Hmm.
Geraldine has her little black cat, Cleo.
Yes, I thought of that too. I was like, look at a little Selena
Hmm.
on screen.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad the cat was never a demon, right? The cat never turned out to be a
So
demon.
yeah, we never
They forgot about
saw
that.
anything, like the cat never died or anything. And I was like, this is one of the things that I was obsessed about at the end, because I was like seeing her get on the bus, and I'm just like, does she have the cat with her? And I guess like she had like a little like box, which I guess was like a cat
Oh.
box, and I assumed the
Hmm.
cat was in there. But I would have liked for her to like maybe just like its head to pop out or something, just to know that like we're good. Or even like when she's
Like
like,
Jonesy at the end of Alien.
yeah. Or when she's like laying on the floor and like the sun comes up, if like the cat had just sort of like walked up to her, just so we know like the cat is still there. Like, just
Yeah,
establish
still part of the
that. That would
story.
have that's my one complaint for the whole thing. It's just like, if you're gonna have the cat, make sure that you see the cat at the end. We
Oh, and that was such a great scene when Irene walks over and she's like, "Get that pussy off the table," and
uh,
Cordelia jumps off the table and
wasn't talking about that
yeah,
pussy. Yeah,
she's
yeah,
talking about the
no.
cat. That was so good. Get that
That's good.
pussy off
Yeah.
the table.
And yeah, thank
Um,
you, Amethyst is 92 minutes long.
Yes.
for a runtime. And I mean, and it feels shorter because you have the wraparound with the Crypt Keeper, and it starts off actually like we should talk about this. Like they're filming a movie. I guess
Mm-hmm.
and it was very confusing. Like there's like this meta aspect to it. Like, are they filming Demon Knight? And then this is Demon Knight because it starts off and it's like this like buxomy woman who's like in lingerie and just like laying on a bed, and there's blood everywhere, and there's like blood like on her
Yes.
tits and on her hand, and she's on the
She's
phone
talking to her
talking to her
lover.
lover,
Yes.
just being like, oh yeah, I killed him, and now like we're gonna have all his money, baby. And she's like taking
I
a
can't wait to
bath.
spend all his money.
Yeah, she's just washing all the blood off in the bath as like his like corpse creeps up the stairs with what was it, a hammer or a mallet or a knife? I don't remember. But then and then it's just like cut, and
Or
we
an
just like kind
axe.
of, it might have been
Yeah.
an axe, yeah.
Hmm.
It was whatever she used on him, and we
Yeah.
reveal it's like the Crypt Keeper is like filming this whole
Cut.
movie. Yeah.
It
And
was
at
almost
the
like Roger Rabbit, kind of.
yeah,
The start of Roger
very
Rabbit.
much. Yeah. It all felt so 90s. And then at the end, the
Hmm.
wraparound, and we're back to the Crypt Keeper, but they're going to the premiere of the movie, and it's like, and it's Demon Knight. It says on like the marquee, Tales from the Crypt
Oh yeah.
presents Demon Knight. So I'm just like, oh wow, this is so meta. This is like Stab and Scream before that
Hmm.
existed.
And I loved
Um,
like every shot, like because obviously for him, like he's a puppet. So
mhm.
like it's just so funny whenever they would show like far away, like establishing shots, and you'd see like a little person maybe wearing his costume, and it was just
Yeah.
so cute.
Yeah.
But I like that it started out that way, and I forgot the actor's name that played like the dead husband. But he was a
Oh,
recognizable
right.
actor. I had seen
He
him
did
in
look
movies.
recognizable. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew him from this movie called The Tenth Kingdom. I don't know if anyone's seen that. I don't. Oh my God, I would love if anyone in the chat has seen that. But The Tenth Kingdom, it was like a made-for-TV movie about this girl in New York City who gets sucked into like the fairy tale world, and she has to go through the seven kingdoms to get home, or the ten.
Enchanted?
No, but no, but basically,
The
um,
reverse of
yeah,
Enchanted, yeah.
yeah, literally, and like, oh, it's so good, and she goes
Wasn't there
through
a
like.
sequel to that? Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent,
Enchanted
but
2
my
was
yeah.
terrible. It was like the I Know You Did Last Summer 2025 of
Oh my
Enchanted.
God. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I
100%.
recall that there was one. I remember for the longest time they were talking about making a sequel, and then it
Uh,
never happened, and then it did come out, and yeah, I guess I just missed it. And I don't have to see it because I
it kind of
believe you.
ruined it. It just like
Yeah,
ruined the first
it
one.
took the
Like, don't ruin.
enchantment away. Yeah.
Ah, it did.
Um, Amethyst is saying, I was a little confused about the seven victims lore. It seemed like more than seven people died that night. John Larroquette was the guy in the opening scene. Thank you.
Mm. Hmm.
Yeah, like the little stars on the hand. I wasn't very clear on that too. I thought those were like the seven like collectors or
Mm.
something like. Yeah, I was.
And I didn't
Uh,
get the shape. Why were they moving around
yeah.
on his hand? Like
They were
sometimes they would
moving
move around.
around, and then they were back to normal, and then it's just like because like after like the initial scene of like the car crash, it's like one of them like moved or disappeared, so it's just like, is he dead? But then he wasn't. It was all very confusing, to be perfectly honest. I did
Hmm.
not follow the plot. I like, like all like the lore and like the sort of like the backstory of like how long he's been alive and like doing all this.
Mm.
I kind of tuned out with that. And this is not like a complaint of the movie because I think for me the movie is the vibes
Yeah.
and the characters. So it's one of those instances where it's just like, yeah, we need the MacGuffin or like whatever the thing is, which was the key and all the story behind it. And that's all well and good. And I don't think that it was done in a way like I was never bored by it, but
Mm.
it was, expositional in a way. And it's shown to us through like a series of flashbacks and stuff that it was still like the art direction was all like really well done with all of it. But I wasn't paying attention to what was actually happening. I was just more invested in sort of like everything like present day and the character dynamics and the overall atmosphere of the film, which is just like that's
Yeah.
I mean it's a case where just like the script might not have been an amazing script. I think it was a very streamlined script, but it's just like what everyone brought to it on a production level is why I feel like this movie is like so transcendent. Oop.
Yeah, because the way that they kind of do it is like, are they talking about Jesus Christ at first? Like, I wasn't sure if that, but there was three
Hmm.
of them that were crucified. So, but they didn't go into like the actual lore until later on. So the whole movie, I'm kind of wondering, I'm like, is there a Judas involved? Is like there, if I knew more about
Hmm.
like religion, would I
Yeah.
understand this better? But no, then it was like something else completely. So I don't know
Yeah.
what that was about.
I just
But
assumed it
yeah,
was all
it was
Jesus stuff. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It was like Jesus. And so basically, that person lived that collected the blood and the key lived for so long until World War One, and then he gave, he traded over the power to Frank.
Hmm.
And Frank has been alive ever since then and living a
Yeah.
very lonely life of being a demon slayer or a demon
Yeah.
knight. Um, yeah. Oh,
Bow,
but this
bow,
movie
bow,
it was
bow.
originally just a spec script. I thought that was interesting. It was a spec
Yeah.
script that was submitted because they were gonna have like three different Tales of the Crypt movies, Bordello of Blood, and then like two other ones, and then one of them was never made, and then this one ended up being Demon Knight. They ended up making that one first, and yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really interesting. They had to like kind of like work it into being a Tales of the Crypt script because it wasn't. It was like having I think Tales of the Crypt was kind of known for having a bleak ending, like how
Mm.
Bordello of Blood had more of a bleak ending, and then like kind of how Black Mirror always kind of has a bleak ending. I think
Yeah.
that's what Tales of the Crypt was known for. So they didn't want it to have too happy of an
Yeah.
ending.
Or like the Twilight Zone or things like that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I think that like this wasn't like entirely bleak. I think that like it was very clear that like, this was her role now and she had to kind of go on and find like these other collectors and take care of them.
Well, yeah, I think
So,
it wasn't bleak enough. Like, I think when they were
yeah.
first trying to make it a Tales of the Crypt movie, they were like, because it's a hero story of like a
Yeah.
hero defeating the demons and passing it on to the next hero. So they're like, yeah, that's not very Tales of the Crypt. So I think they were trying to make it more
Yeah.
dark and whatever. But I think it
I
ended.
mean, you know
I like
what?
a happy
I
ending.
I do
So
too. I feel like
I really do.
I feel like the bleakness, like there's been many a film, pre 2000 that, had bleak endings here and there. Um, One movie that I think of, which I still need to see again, I haven't seen it since it came out, was Arlington Road.
Mm,
Um, the one with, oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank here? It'll come to me. But uh just sort of like, where like the bad guys win and all's that. And I think that like that was something that really started to become more abundant post
yeah.
9/11, because like people were just like very cynical. They were just sort of
Yeah.
like, we're living in dark times, we want the truth, we don't want fantasy. So you'd have a lot of stories where the the villains would always prevail and it was a bleak ending and et cetera and so forth.
Gritty.
And like horror has always kind of like, there's been like, the end of Carrie with the hands coming up and the her waking up from the nightmare and all that, and the Friday the 13th, and however horror movies end, and that's always like kind of like felt like jokey and stuff. I mean, like there is um Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is like a bleak ending and whatnot, but I feel that like the horror genre can get away with that
Hmm.
in a way. Um, Whereas like now it's just like it's almost like it's gotten too bleak. But I think that we're like at a place now where we're kind of shifting back to having happier endings. I don't know. Have
Yeah.
you noticed that?
Well, I hope so. I remember like when, for example, the movie Saw came out, like that was one of
Hmm.
the first movies I'd seen in a long time that had just such a dark that ending of that movie where he's like game over and he slams the door on the guy. I was like I
Hmm.
didn't like that feeling. I did not like that
Yeah.
feeling at all. I was like now I feel very dark and
Locked in
alone.
that room. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would like more of a
Game
but
over.
yeah, game over and he slams it. It's very
Yeah.
but it also reminds me of even something as simple as like remember Are You Afraid of the Dark? And
Yeah.
there was an episode of with like Tia and Tamara Mowry. They played like the same character. Oh no, they played like there was a lizard that like or a chameleon that like basically like would transform into the same girl. So like then the whole thing was like which one's the real one and like the evil chameleon or like the actual girl. And then at the end, like you think that the like the girl ends up living, but you find out the very end it's actually the chameleon. So it's like kind of a bleak
Mm.
ending. It's like, oh yeah, I'm so glad we all lived and everything's great. And then she's like, yeah, and you see her eyes flash, and she's like the chameleon actually. So it's like kind of like that, where it's like, oh, it was a bleak ending. Like they actually killed the wrong one.
Uh-oh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just another example that I thought of. But yeah, so this movie was cool though because I loved all the practicality of it and
Hmm.
the the goofiness of like Zane cutting his hand open and spitting out the blood everywhere. And like all the
Yeah.
demons rise up from that. Just so creative.
Well, I think just like the thing that like really made it for me were just like all of like the little like character things and like how that kind of transpired or like would affect things. Like Roach seemed to be like speaking of the Judas, of like the one that betrays them all, and just like everything that like he did. Like he was just such a fascinating character to me, and
Hmm.
like I guess his like former employers, they're all safe, and he's just like, well, I hated this guy in life, so I'm just gonna like shoot at him, and that ends up like breaking the force field and like causing like
Yeah, this is for
everything to
4 years of
yeah,
minimum wage, asshole. And
yeah,
like, you mean what you were hired at? Like your
yeah,
actual what he told you to
yeah.
be paid?
And then just like the probably like my favorite moment of the film, and one that actually like was improvised by Billy Zane. So when Roach is kind of like bargaining with the collector to let him leave and walk out of there freely, and Billy Zane like opens his mouth and the sponge just kind of like plops
Yeah.
out. He's like, yeah, here, just wipe off the blood from the thing.
Very The
Uh,
Mask or like something like that.
very, very Jim Carrey.
Yes.
Uh, absolutely. And that was the thing, like they gave Billy Zane carte blanche to do like as much improvisation on the movie as possible. And I think that was probably something that James Cameron saw and like made him appealing to hire him for Titanic. But
Because he's
that
very handsome and very, dare I say, zany.
yeah. Billy Zane was also, well, here, I'll finish this thought first. So just like the whole roach of it all and just like, and I love the way it was shot too. Just like the cinematography in this movie is great. But like him going downstairs and then just he's like, "Oh, Mr. Roach, I lied." And they like
Mm,
uh jump on top of him and just tear him apart. But
rip him apart.
the yeah, I was gonna say Billy Zane was also in The Roommate, which was a remake of Single White Female, but like for like the millennial college age.
Hmm.
And he played the you've seen Single White Female,
Leighton
right?
Meester, right? Oh, well, I thought you meant
Late
this one. Leighton Meester's in this one, isn't she?
Leighton Meester is in The Roommate. But
Yes.
you've seen Single White Female, right?
Yes. Yep. Hmm.
So yeah, so the in that movie, Bridget Fonda has a client who's kind of like harasses her, like just comes onto her, and there's like this whole thing that happens with it. And I guess Billy Zane is that character, like he's sort of like the proxy of that in the remake, but he's the
Mm.
main girl's not Leighton Meester, but the other one's college professor. So he turned up in that movie, and I just thought it was funny. It's just like you see him pop up in things. I haven't seen him in anything lately, and that was already what 15 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's been a while. I'm sure he's been in tons of things, but that was the last thing I remember seeing him in.
Yeah, no, he was
Yeah,
great. I liked him especially when he was doing the bar scene with like where he was serving the drink with all the naked girls in this movie.
yeah,
When the way he was acting just so kooky and like wild and goofy,
yeah,
he was reminding me of a Jim Carrey kind of.
yeah. And that's the thing. Like that's why movies like this work. And I feel like we were talking about, we won't name specific movies of, more recent ones, but just the how horror and comedy don't really work right now. Like I just like when certain movies when I find that they try to blend the two genres, it just feels very
Hmm.
forced
Yeah.
in a way where like I don't find it funny. I feel like it just sort of like interrupts like the tone of like whatever they're doing. Whereas like here and like a lot of the movies in the 90s and predating that were able to have both of those things and just like they would work in tandem so well. And I think that this is a great example of a
Hmm.
movie that can be scary and can be funny at the same time. And the two don't contradict one another.
The 90s was very good at the dark comedy. Like the dark,
Hmm.
yeah, the very dark, like Death Becomes Her, like movies that
Hmm.
had scary, gory things in them, but like were also
Hmm.
funny and never corny. Like it just came across like so cool and just
Yeah.
so um just thought out.
Well, I think
Yeah.
that like horror and comedy are very similar in the sense that, especially like when you compare a joke to a jump scare, where it's like it's all about timing, like everything has to be
Hmm.
correct. So in a way, like the system at which like both movies, even though they're applying like to different uh feelings or sensations that we have, whether it's just like fear or or finding something to be funny, there has to be a consistent measure of which, how that is pulled off. And I think that like movies back in the day were able to kind of like have them work on the same level, whereas like now it's like something might like be like they'll do a comedy bit, they'll force it so much, and it's just like it's not set up the same way that you're setting up the horror, and that's why it feels like it just
Hmm.
doesn't work, or it like kind of goes against the grain of what it is. And, I'm sure that this is opinion based. Like, there's a lot of people being like, "What are you talking about?" Like, lots of
Of
modern
course.
horror movies are funny, and that's fine. That's like your opinion. I don't agree, but
Well,
you
they
know,
try to be funny.
they try to be. Yeah.
Burp.
I mean,
But
it's like, I mean, just to compare it to like the Scream movies, like I feel that the comedy in like the first three especially works so much better because it just lands. It just feels very organic with the situation. Whereas like the comedy in the newer ones is like it's kind of forced. It kind of like comes out of nowhere and just like, okay, we didn't need that. That doesn't feel like it's an authentic
like a
reaction that we have.
perfect example of that is Mindy. I feel like Mindy in
Yeah.
Scream 7, like everything she said she thought was so funny. Like I think that like she was like, well, the reason why this is because of this. Burp, burp, burp. Like I just felt like she thought she was like
Yeah.
eating everything and I was like,
Oh my
uh,
God, she ate. Girl
she
ate.
thought she was
Diva,
eating that.
Diva ate. I've actually heard a lot of people that have said that like Mindy is great in Scream 7, and that's their favorite iteration of her so far. And
Could
I'm
have
just
taken
like,
her and her brother out of it and I've been just
yeah,
fine without it.
yeah, I agree.
Um
Yeah.
But I will say, like, the grossest thing of this whole movie, like, nothing to do with the demons, nothing to do with the special effects. The grossest part of this entire movie was when you're seeing when Frank first gets to the boarding house and he is like given a bowl of slop to eat and he squirts
Mhm.
ketchup into it. I was like gagging like "Ugh," like out loud. My cat was like staring at me because I was like "Ugh," like I couldn't watch that scene. That was the grossest thing I'd
Yeah.
seen in the
Do
entire
you not
movie.
like ketchup?
I love ketchup, but mush, like I'm gonna throw up just thinking about it. Like
Yeah.
a bowl full of mush just like freaks me out. Like even like mashed potatoes, I need to have a little skin in there, a little texture.
Yeah. A little bit
So when he's
thin.
just, it looked like he was eating like guacamole or like green avocado mush, and then like he squirted ketchup all over it, and then started eating it, and I wanted to throw up. That was the
Yeah.
grossest thing. And then the scariest part of this movie was when Roach, your favorite character, slaps Cordelia across the face. That part, I was like, it looked so real to me that I gasped a little bit.
It wasn't it There was like an inconsistency there with the sound design. Like it felt like he was like it didn't feel like a as maybe emphatic as it like would have been in the movies. Like it did feel very real in a sense because
Yeah,
he didn't do it in like a boom kind of way. Um,
it felt like a
but
really abusive slap, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually the scariest part of this
yeah.
movie."
Um, he's not my favorite character. I just think that he's a very fascinating character. But I was gonna
You
say
love him.
to your catch-up bit, something I used to do as a kid a lot was like I would have Kraft dinner, macaroni and cheese,
Hmm.
and just like squirt ketchup in it and mix it around, and it would turn it into this like pink concoction. It's so gross. Like I couldn't do
Hmm.
that now. And I don't know. I think even to a point like I would do it. And it might have been because like I would have seen like my stepbrother or someone do that, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah.
But I eventually was just like, well, I don't like this. But the movie Big Daddy, like the Adam Sandler one, turned me off
Hmm.
of ketchup. Like like I'll eat ketchup like with things, but like ketchup on its own, not so much. But I refuse to eat ketchup chips. Mostly because I've never liked them, but especially because of the movie Big Daddy, where they're like doing the things where they like do that like that spit like
Oh,
loogie
and it
thing,
trickles down.
and
Mm-hmm.
then like all the way to the ground, and then suck it back up, and it was just like after eating the ketchup chips, and it was like that red.
Oh.
Yeah, gross. Everyone listening slash watching is just like, oh, why did
Putting
you
their
have to
food
give us that
down
visual? Yeah,
immediately.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no, or it reminds me of like Dumb and Dumber when they're eating the hot peppers and they squirt tons of ketchup and mustard in their mouth. And yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I
I
have
just
not seen Dumb and Dumber for so long.
Oh my
It's so
God. Well,
good.
anything with mush. Like when I was in school, I remember like if it's like certain people's like lunches, like if they were eating like tuna fish and it went through the white bread, oh my God, that would make me throw up. Um,
I mean, I like a good tuna, which is like Henry Winkler.
yeah, a good wet sandwich, a
I
good
like a good
wet
wet
tuna.
tuna fish sandwich.
A good wet
No, like
tuna fish.
no, I like tuna fish, but it's just like it needs to be very clean. It needs to be dry.
Fresh.
Yeah. I don't want something
Yeah.
that's been like wrapped in plastic and just like been marinating in itself
And smushing
for
against the ice pack
hours.
because everyone had an ice pack in their lunchbox, so like it's
Yeah.
smushed against the ice pack.
Yeah.
Um, so then what happens next? After he slaps Cordelia around because Zane's come back to the house, he's looking for the key. He's
Yeah.
able to so because she's slapped and she's upset, Cordelia is easily manipulated
Yeah.
by Zane, which who wouldn't be?
I mean,
Am I right?
I don't think it's just like because of that. I just think that's her character in general is that she's
Well,
easily
yeah, she's just
manipulated
extra
by,
raw. She's just
yeah,
extra raw. She's all upset. She's like, "Oh, I want to be loved." She wants to be loved when it
yeah,
comes down to it. I
but just
love
not by
Cordelia.
Wally. Yeah,
I know. I loved her
yeah,
character so much, though.
yeah, yeah.
Apparently,
No, I felt
Billy Zane
bad
had a
for
huge crush
her.
on her.
Yeah, it felt bad for Cordelia, Cordy.
Yeah,
Um,
Cordy.
But that's the thing. It's just like all of these characters, they're so dimensionalized in like a movie like this where you wouldn't think that they would be. And it's just like and I
Yeah,
love that. And I love it like in a 92-minute movie where, within like the first 3 minutes of meeting all these people, it's just like, oh, I get that. Like, you have a sense of that empathy for who they are and their situation and you can tell it doesn't require an entire hour to like have these long-winded scenes of just exposition and like, well, as you know, in the
yeah.
past, like our baby died and
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 I think
buried out in the yeah,
it helps too. Like I feel like all these actors felt like they were having a fun time. Like they all felt like they
yeah,
were enjoying themselves in this movie. And because like that none of them were probably being paid that much money. They were probably doing it for like not a lot. And
yeah,
some of these actors that were in this movie were in a lot of these kind of low budget schlocky horror films. So they just
yeah,
probably genuinely love doing that. And I feel like you can tell that in this movie. And so everyone's fun kind of came through. And I know that
yeah,
the character of Willie, the older guy that he goes into the naked room. Like his character was only supposed to have a couple of scenes, but they ended up writing so much more for him because the actor
yeah,
was just so thrilled to be there and having so much fun. So they just wrote more for
yeah,
him. Well, that's so nice.
yeah, absolutely. Also, like another shot that was just like stuck with me is like when the kid, what's the kid, Danny?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the kid's name?
Danny, yes.
Yeah, because he's like he gets possessed through the thing, and he has like probably one of the grossest transformations of just like when
Yeah.
he's like the head and all that, and we're seeing it kind of like play out in like the comic. Again, more meta stuff. Pre-Scream meta is always so interesting to me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but she ends up like booting him out the window, and he just explodes, and all you see is like the shoe, the kid's
Yeah.
shoe, like with
I'm like,
like
he's a little
smoke coming out of it.
kid.
Yeah,
He's a little kid, and
yeah,
they just push him right through. Because I was wondering what the significance of that was. Because he asked Jada Pinkett Smith, he's like, "Where should I put the force field?" And she's like, "The window." And I was like, "Why that window?" I'm like, "Why
yeah.
why the window?" There's like four windows in this room, but
Hmm.
then that's the window that they end up pushing the little kid through. I was like, "Oh, that's why they had to
Yeah.
do that."
Yeah.
Yeah, his face rips open, his like tongue. I loved all. I mean, it looked goofy, but it was gross and so much
Yeah.
fun. So smart,
No, it's a lot
clever.
of fun. Uh, to Oh, and Grant Dempsey says, and this actually is a fun fact, so thank you for reminding us. Billy Zane still says to this day that this was his favorite performance.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. You can
Yeah.
tell I think you can tell because he looks like he's having so much fun,
Hmm.
just getting to do whatever he wants and kind of go
And
wild.
but that's what like you were in arguably one of the biggest movies in the world. And like and worked with James Cameron, but just to say that this was his favorite performance of it, like
Yeah.
this in this movie, is astounding. Because yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like Billy Zane performance. I'll have to watch Dead Calm again. Um, but yeah, I think like this is one of my favorites. He was on Twin Peaks. He had like a reoccurring, maybe just like a 3 or 4 episode stint in the second season, which was like notoriously hated. So I remember like him being on that, and I guess that would have been after um, Dead Calm, but
Mm.
he probably showed up there. He had one of his toupees.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like, well, yeah, Ernest Dickinson directed this, and I don't know what else he's done, but I know that he um is the reason that he wanted to make the cast diverse. So I don't know if that was
yeah,
partly why Cameron Diaz wasn't cast, because I know he wanted Jada
yeah.
Pinkett Smith. He wanted
Well,
like,
Cameron Diaz is Puerto Rican. No.
but she reads white. I mean, I
She's
would never look at
she's she's
Cameron
white
Diaz and be like, oh,
passing,
she's Puerto
yeah.
Rican. I would
Yeah.
never
No,
ever think of her
no,
because she's
that's
blonde, blue eyes.
that's totally fair.
Yeah,
But
but
she's
her last name is Diaz. I
dyed
just, yeah,
dyed blonde.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I like that and it doesn't feel like it's doing it intentionally. It doesn't
It's
feel like it's
not.
yeah.
It feels very natural, like just a natural how it
Hmm.
would be. Like it was, it
Well,
wasn't like a quota.
the thing that I like about it is that they've clearly cast people who are good actors who have
Hmm.
chemistry together as actors, and that's why it works. So it's just like you don't like look at something like this and just feel like, okay, this is like they were trying to fill a quota or something like a
Yeah,
Disney
check
thing.
boxes. Yeah.
Whereas now when you see something where it is, it's just like, okay, like these people are not like they don't necessarily work well together with these actors. This isn't a good pairing. I don't think they had the right look for the movie or whatever, but it's just like, no, we're doing the thing. We're checking the boxes. We're doing all that.
Hmm.
And, this is actually a great example of a movie that is diverse in a day where that was a complaint that like movies weren't.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a pioneer for its time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very, very cool.
Amethyst is saying it was so much more interesting for Jada to be the final girl survivor of this movie. No offense to Cameron Diaz. I mean
Yeah.
I agree. I mean Jada Pinkett, like she's a controversial figure.
Hmm.
In this day and age. But I do enjoy her in this. I enjoy her in Scream 2 as well. Like I think that like, her roles, especially like in the 90s when she would like show up in them, it's just like she brought like like a certain presence to what she was doing. And I couldn't see anyone else playing Geraldine. Like I don't think I could see Cameron Diaz in that role. I don't think that like Cameron wouldn't do a good job of it, but I think that it was just good casting to have Jada
Yeah.
Pinkett.
One thing I think Jada does really well is that she kind of like playing off what we were just talking about. Like she's able to play a strong woman who's also vulnerable, who can also
Hmm.
scream and be scared. Like she's not too cool to be scared. But she's also tough as hell. And like so it's not like
Hmm.
modern day girl boss where where like girls just written to be like whatever, I don't fucking care, I don't know, or like inconsistently written. She's just
Yeah.
like herself, and she has a natural toughness to her which comes through, but she's still a human being. She still gets scared and she's still vulnerable at the end of the day. So I think
Yeah.
she plays both very well.
I mean, the whole bit at the end where it's just her and Billy Zane, and
Yeah,
he's like she's like wrapped in this shower curtain, and he's like pulling her down the stairs.
that was
And
funny.
I'm sure it wasn't her, it's like maybe a
No.
stunt performer in that. And like she's just like in her underwear at this point.
Hmm.
In this whole sequence, there's just like, the dance that they're doing. And this whole time she's got the blood in her mouth. She's waiting for the right moment to spit it out on his face, but it's just like, yeah, she's being resourceful. Like she's smart. She's
Hmm.
actually like she's being put through the ringer. She's in a very vulnerable situation where it's just like she may die or like, be his like demon queen or whatever, taken to
Hmm.
the underworld. Um, but she's, it's just like it's all about timing. It's about being resourceful, using your surroundings, using what's available to you in terms of weapons. It's not doing this like Deus Ex Machina thing that like all of these like modern final girls seem to have,
Mhm.
where it's just like God may as well like come down and like give them a machine gun so they can just like blast away the villain.
Yeah.
And like that becoming the girl boss thing. And I mean like not to jump back to Scream 7 again, but just the way that ended, I guess like everything written with Tatum, the daughter, of just
Hmm.
like how it's like the movie just decided at this point, okay, now you're gonna be a bad, now you're Sydney effing Prescott's daughter.
Daughter.
So,
Yeah.
and that you're gonna like blow off this person's face to smithereens. Like it's like, okay, whatever. It's more interesting if there's like they are vulnerable and there is
Hmm.
like I don't want to feel safe for them. I don't want to ever like have to feel like no, they've got this. And with her,
Yeah.
just like what she's put through of Geraldine in this movie, it's just like, it's there's you're talking about like some movies end on a bleak note. This very well could have been one of them. You don't know what's going to happen to her, and I feel that like that actually allows there to be a level of suspense. Going into like the end of the movie, it's just like, is she going to make it out of this? Like, how is she going to defeat him? So,
Yeah, it wasn't like
you
the
know,
girls at the end of I Know You Did Last Summer 2025. It wasn't that.
oh,
Where they're
divas,
where they're just like
yeah,
suddenly like making quips and like I'm all for a good like a Sidney Prescott like don't fuck with the original or like or saying something like kind
sparingly,
of quippy,
yeah,
yeah, snarky or like whatever. But like don't like be like just pausing for time, fuckheads. Like I don't know, like just so brazen. Like
yeah.
I don't know. I hate the brazen girl boss.
Yeah. There
That's
was a
so
moment
dumb.
that I noticed in Scream 7, which did the thing again, but it was with Mindy. So this would have been like the thing with Sam in the one you mentioned in 5, and also the one in 6, where they go into Gail's apartment and just like, hey, I have the gun. I'm gonna let the killer know that I have the gun on them. But it's when they're in the kitchen and she comes out of nowhere, but like Stab has been Chad and Chad has been stabbed. And
Hmm.
Mindy's like, hey, cupcake, or whatever she says. And it's just like, no, don't alert the murderer to your presence. Like
Yeah.
just come over and like attack him sneakily.
Yep.
But no, everyone needs to be cool. They need to have like a thing.
Everyone
And
has to
it's
be cool. I'm so
yeah,
sick of it.
yeah,
that's why I love Sarah Michelle Gellar as Buffy because she was able to be vulnerable when she had to be. And
yeah.
she could also be strong and like she
And
could also have
quippy, yeah,
quips
yeah,
and be funny and like and have those things, but then she would also like make you cry. Like
yeah.
and so
Oh
I
my
love
God,
that.
the
The
range on
range
that
that
girl.
that
Yeah.
woman has.
Yeah.
Um,
No, absolutely. I think that yeah, it's like the more I revisit movies from the 90s, the more I really appreciate the decade. And I feel that, Scream coming out in 1996, like it changed the genre. Just changed the landscape of everything. And I mean beyond horror as well. It's just it had such an influence on so many aspects of the entertainment industry. And I know that there's a lot of criticism for horror pre-Scream in the 90s because it's just like, people say that it was running on fumes and I absolutely agree with that. I think that, they were trying to do certain things that were just sort of like holdovers from the 80s and it just like it didn't have the magic. But then there are movies and there's very few, but the ones that had it to like such a huge extent. And I think that Demon Knight is one of them. I
mhm.
think even like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, Candyman, there I'm just trying to think of several different ones here. Even like the thrillers from the early 90s, like The Single White Females and
Mm,
The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, Raising
mhm,
Cain, which is just like a
mhm,
personal guilty pleasure of mine. But they're like the movies from the 90s that just like that hit the nail on the head were so good. So it's just like it's sucky that it's just like they were so few and far between because I feel that whatever that was, whatever like the early to mid 90s were, where like the movies were good, it might be like my favorite era
Yeah.
of the horror genre. And there's
Yeah.
so little of it. And it would have been interesting to see like imagine that Scream never happened. And I don't want to live in that world because like
No.
we need Scream, but I always wondered like where would we have gone with that? I feel like it would have been more stuff like this going into
Mm.
the later 90s.
Like more like a little getting
Yeah. I
schlockier a little
think
bit.
that like I mean I think that we would have eventually ended up where we did by like the 2000s and stuff, but I
Mhm.
mean like for instance like House on Haunted Hill doesn't feel like it's influenced by Scream at all. House on Haunted Hill feels like a progression of like where Demon Knight is and like movies like that. But somewhere along the way, like that type of movie fizzled out going into the 2000s, and then of course it just became
Mm.
more about like the Saws and the Hostels
Hmm.
and Final Destinations
House of
and the likes
Wax.
of that. House of Wax. I mean, House of Wax feels very Scream influenced for
Do you think so? I
sure.
guess well, I feel like the
Yeah.
chase scenes maybe like Paris Hilton's whole chase scene
Yeah.
could be, but like I actually just watched an interview this morning with Alicia Cuthbert. She just did.
I saw that there was one. Should I watch it? Is it good?
Yeah, no, it's very
Yeah.
informational. She talks about like the guy who does the interview, he struggles a little bit.
Yeah.
So I kind of just would like skip forward to all her answers because he was struggling to
Oh.
get the questions out. Um,
Oh, sounds
but
like me.
no, he was like almost like nervous. I don't know, but
Yeah.
you could tell she was being very nice, and she was just like she answered everything he asked, but he was almost
Yeah.
like he couldn't get the questions out. Um, but I love that movie, House of
Yeah.
Wax.
Alicia Cuthbert is from Calgary, actually,
Oh,
where I
she's
reside. Yeah.
amazing. She seems very nice. You
Yeah.
Canadians.
I mean,
Mhm.
I've known Alicia was on, speaking of which, Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Mm.
As a child, because it was all like Canadian productions. So
Hmm.
that's where I believe she got her start. And then she did a few things after that, but then I think she really kind of like hit it big because she played Kiefer Sutherland's daughter on 24, and I
Hmm.
love that show. I watched like every episode ever.
Yeah.
And so when she was announced in House of Wax, I'm like, oh my God, Alicia Cuthbert from Calgary is in like House of Wax.
Well, so she says in the interview that she thinks that she was the first person hired, but I've heard through like, Paris Hilton was always
Yeah,
said to be the first person hired. So that was a little bit of, I was like, oh, I
hmm
wonder what was the truth there. But
yeah. I mean, I do feel that like House of Wax, there is a vibe to it. And this is the Dark Castle aspect, and it's like something that Edward said, and I echo that sentiment as well, is that the Dark Castle movies were kind of like carnival rides.
hmm.
And especially in House of Wax. And I feel the same way with Demon Knight. It feels like a carnival ride. It has
Yes, very
that
much
sort of
that.
yeah, it has that atmosphere, it has that vibe. Horror being fun. And I'll always go back to this. Like horror movies should always be fun. Like I'm not interested in bleakness and horror. I mean, obviously there's like, certain th movies. We were talking about something that just came out and I haven't seen it. I've heard mixed things about it. Undertone.
Mm.
I was told that I wouldn't like it because it's a movie that's just sort of like it's there's not really much of a narrative structure. It's just sort of like kind of like unsettling bits of just like noise and audio, and it's like really good on a technical aspect of
Mm.
just like the sound design. But for someone like me that like wants character
The
and wants story,
story.
I'm not going
Yeah.
to enjoy something like that. But it just like it feels like they're, I don't want to undervalue a fan of horror who is interested in that, and that's the kind of thing that they
Yeah.
like to see. But I personally find movies like that to be, it's almost like empty calories in terms of horror for me because I'm not getting anything out of it. Like there it might be like you know, effective jump scares and things like that. But I want fun, like, because I think that
Yeah.
horror movies can be fun and they can be scary and they can be atmospheric and you can have like characters who are interesting and dimensionalized. And I think that Demon Knight is all of those things
I
and
agree.
House of Wax.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I thought of House of Wax because it kind of, I don't know why it kind of reminds me of this. Maybe because it has a ensemble cast and it's like one location. Um,
Yeah.
I
I mean,
actually
it's a
just
little
told,
bit. it's the entire town, so it's a little bit bigger. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
but they're kind of trapped there. I mean,
Yeah, it's like one
yeah,
street, pretty much.
yeah.
I actually just told someone today about House of Wax. I had never seen it. So I was like, "Oh, you have to see." I told someone
It's so
because
fun.
someone today, I told someone today that I'm now a co-host on this podcast, and they were like, "Oh, what are your favorite horror movies?" And I was like, oh, "Well, let me tell you." So obviously, I said I knew it
Mhm.
last summer. I said Scream 2, and then for some reason I couldn't think of anything, but I was like, "Oh my God, Red Eye," and then I was talking
Red
about
Eye.
House of
Yeah,
Wax, and I'm like, I don't know if these are my like favorites. I don't know if Red Eye and House of Wax are my favorites, but I'm just these are just
yeah,
great movies. And then I told her all about them, and she was like writing them all down. She's like, I have to watch all of
yeah.
these. So
Red Eye is so good. I need to watch Red Eye. Actually,
such a good thriller.
oh my gosh. So, um, Jamie Blanks, director
Mm,
of Urban Legend and Valentine, sadly passed away
he did.
uh this past week, actually just over a week ago, which really sucks. It's just like very
Yeah.
unfortunate. Eric and I actually got to meet him just a few weeks before that. We were Zooming with him. Like he is just was such a great person who just embraced like his fans and other filmmakers and stuff and like just loved talking about horror. And we had Zoomed with him and
So cool.
we were yeah, like we because we were talking about Red Eye and because I get like he was working on a project and I just sort of like, oh, like, I'm sure you've seen Red Eye. Like he's has a huge had a huge well he huge movie collection in his house.
Hmm.
And yeah, I recommended like Red Eye as like maybe inspiration for this thing that he was working on, and another movie called Dead of Winter. And he had to get off the call because like we were um like he had to pick up his son and like he didn't charge his phone, so he was like about to die. But he's like, yeah, let's pick this up again next week. We had scheduled it, but he like we got off the call and then he emailed us and like just a photo of like Red Eye and Dead of Winter, which he had, and he's like, I'm gonna watch these right now, which was just
Oh
like
my God,
so
I hope he
surreal.
did.
And no, he did, and I was really excited to like chat with him and like talk about like what he was able to like get out of that for what he was working on. And we were supposed to meet with him like the day after he had passed. So like I like had emailed to confirm and his wife like let us know. But it's like it's just one of those like terrible things and it's just like I didn't know. But we were talking about Red Eye and it's just like oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean yeah, it's a great movie. And now I want to watch Red Eye. I want to watch House
Hmm.
of Wax. I want to watch Urban Legend and
Mm.
Valentine. I just watched Valentine like
Hmm.
a few months ago.
Yeah, I was
But
watching Joe Blow Horror was like doing a like a little combo for JB Blanks of like
mhm.
Valentine and Urban Legend, and they were like they didn't crap on Valentine, but a little bit, and I was like
Mm.
I shut it off. I shut it off because I was like, we're
Oh,
not gonna do that because I actually love Valentine and I always
yeah.
will. So
I think that
um
Urban Legend is the better movie of the two.
yeah,
I think that, Valentine, I don't, I,
it's so much
it's,
fun. I
it's,
think
it's
it's
a lot
fun.
of, it's a lot of fun. I think that if there's anything that sort of like hurts it, it's more of just like the script of just like, like it kind of slows down in the middle. But I know that like budget wise, like they could only do so much. Like I wish that there was more kills. I wish that like characters like Dorothy's stepmother or more of like the bullies from the past.
Hmm.
But like the way it ended, like I know that like when I initially saw it, I was disappointed by the fact that there is not really a killer reveal in the traditional sense. So it felt
Yeah,
like it's like almost it's kind of a bleak ending. It's a movie
yeah,
that does have a bleak-ish kind of end to it. But I think like now, like all these years later, like 25 years later, I can see it and just be like, you know what? Like I actually appreciate that it did do something different. It didn't kind of go with the grain because you do have urban legend with that. But I think like as a filmmaker for both of them, like one thing that I really liked about him is that the camera was always moving. He was always doing something interesting with the camera. That it just like, especially in Urban Legend, you just have these shots, like these like high angles. And there's one in
mm,
particular where I think Alicia Witt goes into the library and it starts off on this like high, like aerial bird's eye view shot, and she's like kind of like walking through, and it just sort of like kind of like goes down till it's like ground level, but it's like looking up at this like cathedral like building that she goes into. So just like, things like that. It's just it was always so interesting. So it was really fun to talk to him about that. And actually, I know we're not talking about urban legend this episode, and maybe we will again. Who knows? But I I mentioned the swimming pool scene to him
Hmm.
when Brenda's
The
swimming
fake
and
out.
the fake out, and he said that he didn't like that scene. He said that the studio had wanted him to put something in there because they had Brenda as this killer, and they wanted to show that, like, I guess she was an athlete, she was strong, and she could swim. And that was like how she
Oh,
was like able to like like
I
overpower these
never put that
guys
together.
and stuff. And but I said to him that like I love that scene, and the reason why is because like from my own personal headcanon, she was gaslighting Natalie by paying that girl to come in dressed in the parka because she knew that Natalie was coming to meet her there, and it was just like a thing just to rile her up.
I
Yeah.
think it was, well, I mean, that's a fun headcanon, but I think it
Yeah.
was purely coincidence because wasn't the movie supposed to take place in the wintertime? So
Yes.
like
Yeah.
so it would have made sense. I mean, it would be strange, but it would have made more sense that everyone on this campus has the same winter jacket with fur.
Yeah.
Um, because it is kind of weird that like she walks into the school fully bundled, like didn't even take the hood off until she got
Yeah.
into the pool area. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, a little warm
Well,
there.
there was like the storm that was happening later that night, and I guess that's it showed it on the TV. Like, every take cover. It's gonna be a wet one tonight.
Hmm. Oh, I
But
love Tara Reid so much, and I mean, because it's the closest thing to Helen Shivers. So I remember,
yeah,
in school, I was seventh grade. I wrote like we had to write some kind of report, some project, and I don't even know. I think I got like a horrible grade because it definitely didn't say just recite a scene, but I
mm,
basically just typed in detail what she does in her entire chase scene,
yeah,
and I was like, this is great. That wasn't the assignment.
hmm
But I
oh,
was I just
that's
loved
good.
a good chase scene back then.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And those movies delivered. I don't know if there's a
Hmm.
tracing in Valentine, but yeah, in Urban Legend for sure.
Valentine, I think that the hot tub scene kind of makes up for it because it's kind of
Yeah.
like it takes its time a little
Well,
bit.
there's the Ruthie. There's not a lot of running, but
Ruthie,
like, when she's hiding in the sauna
yeah,
and all that.
a
But
little suspense.
yeah, I think that we've like veered away. So I actually
We
think that
have.
this is probably a very good time to get to the cherry picker.
It's not like we kill people on purpose.
Alrighty. So last week we asked you who deserved to die the most in Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. The New Blood. Blood.
Noodles.
Blood. I nominated Dr. Christopher Cruz. You nominated Melissa Power. Power.
What's the
Power.
power?
Power.
Pearl.
Across Pearl. Melissa with the Pearl. Across
Yes.
Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube. The final tally was 373 for Dr. Cruz and 92 for Melissa.
Dr. Cruz was the better choice.
Dr. Cruz was more deserving of death, and let's see
Yes.
why. Blue Box 87. Melissa is such a fun bunt. Even though she feels very out of place, girl, what are you doing in New Jersey? This ain't the Hamptons. The doctor, on the other hand, is just a major a-hole. Ron Zilla. Dr. Cruz has to be my pick. He and Melissa were almost tied in their comedic villainy. Dr. Cruz was the only time Jason used a power tool, and it mostly got removed. At least Melissa got my favorite death of this movie, and we really got to enjoy it. Dylan Jameson, easily Dr. Cruz, as we never got to see it fully due to the MPAA cutting down on the goal.
Mm.
Plus, he sacrifices Tina's mum to save himself. But then we don't see him get his gruesome death he had coming to him. Thomas Baker. Dr. Cruz, enough said. Jazzy Boo, that man was just a useless asshole. Nicholas Wetzel. Dr. Cruz, after all. Melissa apparently received her pearls for being the perfect daughter and the best little girl in the whole world. She even introduced herself and offered Tina dip. What could she do that was worse than Bad News Cruz? Dip. Sean Prinsick, Dr. Cruz, was a terrible person who manipulated a troubled family for his supposed self-gain. I mean, who really knows what his final end plan was? At least Melissa was kind of fun in how terrible she was. I choose Dr. Scumbag, and I think Jason would agree. He was right behind the doctor, but decided he needed something special for him after using the mother as a human shield. This is the most standard of the traditional Friday the 13th. The only thing that sets it apart is the Carrie aspect, which is why I still actually like it. The kids don't even seem as if they actually like each other, let alone would hang out for a weekend together. Adrian Phillips, Melissa Power, but her daddy rich. But her daddy rich.
But her daddy
But
rich.
her daddy
She deserves a
rich.
dad, but her daddy's rich.
She deserves death,
I
but
will
her,
give her
her
that.
her dad will pay for her to get out of it.
And
Grant Dempsey, back to my old routine of feeding therapist slash psychiatrist to the cherry picker. But there you have it.
there we are.
I think for my pick for the cherry for Demon Knight, I'm gonna go with Mr. Roach. That guy
Are
was
you doing Cherry or who deserves to die the most?
what we're doing. Who deserves to die the most?
Okay.
Yeah.
I also had Roach written down. So
Damn.
this
What
is
are you gonna
exactly what happened last week. And now
What are you
I'm
gonna
gonna pick
do?
someone
Yeah.
inferior to Roach. Let's see. I guess if not Roach, then I'm surprised I didn't write a backup. I usually write a
You
backup.
gotta write a back. You
I
always gotta
have to
have
write a
a back.
backup.
Or you can go like me and just like not have a plan at all and just randomly look at the
Yeah.
cast. And, yeah.
But I don't know. Part of me is like, do I want like the little kid or the little kid's parents?
Homer.
Just uh, um
Yeah.
just because which actually I we didn't mention, but I didn't even notice the first time watching this because I watched it twice.
Yeah.
That Roach works there with the kid's parents, which is why
Yeah.
he like shoots the guy later and he's like, this is for
Yeah.
minimum wage. But I didn't know in that first scene where Frank is trying to steal the car and then like he's like, Dad, come out here. Some guy's trying to steal your car. And
Yeah.
then the dad and mom were out and there's Roach right there. I didn't know that that was Roach my first time
Yeah.
watching it. Didn't even put that
It's
together.
Roach. Well, Amethyst is saying Wally.
Oh my God, I forgot about Wally, the post office guy.
Yeah.
Again, does he deserve to die? Not
Well, I mean,
really,
he was
but he
planning
is kind of
to
annoying.
he was planning to go postal, as they
He
say.
was
He had
gonna
that
kill
whole
every. Oh,
arsenal.
so
Yeah.
that was a huge thing in the 90s apparently.
Yeah.
Like that was like a
Yeah.
big worry. So you know what? Thank you so much, Amethyst. I
It
will
was
go
a
with that because
worry.
that's better than
Yeah.
picking a little kid for no reason. So I
Yeah.
will I'll go with Wally. There we go. Post
Yeah.
office Wally, who's gonna just
Wall
shoot up the place for no reason.
Wallaby. Wallaby. Oh,
Yes.
well, I'm sure he had a good
Roger
reason.
Rabbit.
Sure he
Roger
had a good
Rabbit.
reason for it. But yeah.
That
Um
thank you.
we got to pick a cherry on top as well. And I mean, I'm interested to know what you would think, but I think Irene,
I have Irene written
CCH. Yeah.
down. Yep.
Irene.
I think
C
Irene, because at first I picked Jada. I think Jada, like I think she had a nice range in this, but I think overall I liked Irene better.
yeah.
She's just like that auntie that you love.
Auntie Irene. Yeah. So if you want to vote I mean, we encourage you to vote. So the poll will be up on Patreon, Instagram, and YouTube. If you head over to Patreon, that is a free vote. I leave it public for everybody. So even if you're not supporting, head over there. You can join as a free member, and then maybe at some point in the future you'll feel like upgrading. Just be there and see all the stuff that comes out. Head over to the Instagram at the Cherry Picker Pod and follow us there. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. If you are watching this, the RSS feed link is in the descriptions down below if you prefer to listen to the audio format. Tim, where can I find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram at Tim McKay Beauty.
And I am on my main YouTube channel, Zack Cherry, Zack space Cherry, and Instagram and Letterboxd at Retro Bitchface, Twitter is ZachCherry8. We already said what was happening next week, but we'll say it again. It is the F, Mary, Kill,
Of Scream 7.
Scream 7 edition. We'll have to still
Woo!
work out the mechanics of that. That'll
Yes.
be next week. You can join us for that live stream on the Monday. Otherwise, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will be right back.